In the summers between my college years, I worked as a pizza delivery man for Rosati's. Unlike some pizza chains and their armies of pizza men, we delivered not only to a select region, but to all of Champaign-Urbana, from the southern recesses of Savoy to the nether regions north of Olympian Drive. It's one of those jobs where you see the inside of so many people's homes. You find yourself a voyeur into company board meetings, the county jail, hotel rooms, cult meetings, and the occasional drum circle. As a pizza man, I saw the underbelly of Champaign-Urbana beneath the waking surface life we see. For this reason, I approached the job with a childlike sense of wonder. Every new delivery gave me the same dopamine rush as pulling a slot machine. I was excited to see how much money I would get tipped, where it would take me, what kind of people I would meet, and what kind of stories it would give me to tell. My first car was a 1997 Chevy Lumina. I aptly named it the orthopedic shoe because of its color. It may not have had air conditioning, but it was my orthopedic shoe, and it got me through a lot of life. In this same first summer delivering pizza, I gave in to the encouragement of my friends to try my hand at radio. I joined our campus station, WPGU, at Illini Media as a DJ, and was given my own show every Sunday night from midnight to 3 a.m. I established a Sunday night routine of ending my shift at the pizza place, buying an iced coffee at the convenience store, and then buckling in at our studio, which at that time had a big, beautiful window overlooking Green Street into which passersby could gaze upon the DJ at work. As DJs, we were encouraged to find our own voice, our own style, and our own kind of regular bit for the air. Now, as a seasoned pizza man, I had accumulated some stories or slices of life. And I turned these stories into the crown jewel of my radio show. When it's time to pause the music and speak into the microphone, you have the opportunity to select a piece of music to play in the background. And in the business, that's called a bed. So I would always choose a song by Depeche Mode called People Are People as my background music. It was my subtle way of communicating that even though my stories would center on customers doing the weirdest things, that I never judged them as human beings. So when my time came, I would hit that button to play that 80s jam and start my bit. And one of them went exactly like this. And now it's time for the latest installment of my newest bit, The Pizza Man Report. Real stories from real pizza delivery drivers here in the CU area. This week's story comes from me. The other night, I delivered chicken wings to one of our regulars, Harold. Now, Harold's a nice gentleman, probably about 75 years old. He greets me the same way every time I come into his house. He's seated in his wheelchair wearing a giant baggy shirt. On his walls are nothing but Star Trek memorabilia. As usual, he was watching a black and white Western on a wooden TV set from the 60s. After giving him his usual chicken wings, Harold says, "Now, hold on a minute. I need you to do something else. Follow me." So I follow him as he wheels himself into his bedroom. Mistake number one. He points to his nightstand and says, "I need you to fix my Xbox." He had an Xbox. This guy had an Xbox. Who knew? It wasn't broken, it just fell off the shelf and needed to be plugged in. As I'm reaching for the wires, he says, "Oh, let me give you some more light." And as he's reaching upward to pull the chain down on his ceiling fan, I look over and notice that his baggy shirt was his only article of clothing. He tipped me $2.30 that night. And that was this week's Pizza Man Report. Come back next week for more stories, real stories from real pizza delivery drivers here in the CU area, here on the Pizza Man Report. So that was my most memorable of on-air stories, and I would continue telling stories like that one. Another one of my favorite regulars was Chainsaw. That was actually the only name we knew him by, and it was the name on his receipt. He was always very friendly to me and would greet me the same way every time I came over. Barefoot on his log cabin with a Gadsden flag hanging up, much like this gentleman here. Instead of cash, he would tip us with firecrackers. In one of our conversations, he found a way to bring up his belief that Barack Obama was from Kenya. I'm still not sure how he managed to weave that into conversation, but otherwise he was a delight and the fireworks were fun. The Pizza Man Report became a hit on the airwaves, and I was soon bumped up to the primetime slot. I continued to entertain the public with stories of rescuing a customer's runaway cat, getting to drive my car on the field of Memorial Stadium, being interrupted on my walk to an apartment because an army of cops decided that was the best time to jump out of the bushes and arrest the guy 10 feet away from me. As well as getting to deliver food to Black Friday shoppers camping out at Best Buy. They always have some interesting things to say, so if you ever get bored that Wednesday before Thanksgiving, pull over and give them a conversation. So why did I do all this? Why did I make a big spectacle out of delivering pizza? Why did I build a radio empire out of something so nonsensical? Well, first, let's take a hard left turn and talk about the concept of beauty. We crave aesthetic experiences where we encounter beauty, the sublime, and the transcendent in moments that make the hairs on the backs of our necks stand up. For many of us, our thirst for beauty is satisfied when we encounter nature, and others when we hear a beautiful piece of music and just the right chord reaches its fingers into your ribcage and caresses your heart. It's truly an inexplicable and transcendent desire in all of us that goes underserved and underrated. I bring this up because the Pizza Man Report was a silly endeavor, but there's a special place in my heart for silliness. It was Willy Wonka who said, "A little nonsense now and then is relished by the wisest men." I would go as far as to say that we all crave silliness, or at least novelty in our world, in the way we crave beauty. Novelty is maybe a subcomponent of beauty. I definitely need it in my life, but so do the rest of us. We need breaks from the monotony of day-to-day life. We need fresh, silly moments like the Pizza Man Report. The satisfaction I got from it was collecting these weird moments, giving people weird stories to tell, and for unearthing the beautiful weirdness beneath our own waking world. Local radio shows are a dying medium nowadays, and we cherish them while they are still ours, but before disc jockeys as a profession fade into our memories, for that moment, my listeners and I got to enjoy our ridiculous piece of folk journalism known as the Pizza Man Report. Thank you for tuning in. Bless up.